Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to my channel. This is my 10th video. Today I'm going to review 4 books, 3 fiction, 1 nonfiction. Let's get started. The first book is Dream State by Eric Puchner. I hope I didn't mispronounce that name too badly. Sorry. Okay, this is an Oprah pick, and I was so looking forward to reading a good story. The premise is it's a love triangle, okay? There are 2 best friends, Garrick and Charlie, and Cece. And Cece is engaged to Charlie, and they ask Garrett to officiate the wedding, and that's how they meet, but Cece falls for the best friend, Garrett. So then the novel jumps very quickly. Cece does end up with Garrett, and then they both have families, and because of the love triangle at the beginning, that has repercussions and effects throughout the families, even the children. So that's basically the novel. However, I didn't like it. I could not get into the characters emotionally, and I didn't care about them. This novel was not for me. I know it's popular. I know it's an Oprah pick. Maybe, again, it was my state of mind, but I give this a 2.5. Okay. Book number 2, Going Home by Tom Lamont. I listened to this book on audio at 1.6, and it was still very, I was able to, it was still pretty clear, but it's a good premise, and with very sensitive material. Okay, so Lil, this young girl, has bouts of anxiety and depression, and this is at the beginning of the book. She commits suicide. She leaves behind a 3-year-old little boy. So the 3-year-old, Joel, is left to Lil's best friend, Teo. And Teo's a young man, 30 years old, but they're just friends. Although Teo always secretly loved her, but it was not reciprocated. And Teo takes care of his elderly father, and then there's also another character, Ben. So the premise is Joel, this 3-year-old little boy, is being raised by who and how, okay? And so it is a good story, a good premise. Again, I really couldn't get into the story. I listened to it at a very fast pace to get through it. But I didn't have any luck with it. If you should pick it up and you like it, I could give it another try by reading it instead of listening to it. Sometimes that makes all the difference, but I give this a 3-star. Book number 3, Wooks Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey. So this book, the setting is in Alaska, and contentment just meant getting your basic needs met, and the small community, and climate, tolerable climate. So the main characters are Birdie, this 26-year-old young woman, and her young daughter, 6-year-old Emmeline. And then there's Arthur, this very peculiar man who had been mauled by a bear, apparently, and is somewhat disfigured. So Birdie becomes emotionally and psychologically intertwined with Arthur. And this leads her and her young daughter, Emmeline, to move in with Arthur at some, far remote place in Alaska. Then Arthur begins to show who he really thinks he is. And I know that sounds mysterious, but that is what the story's about, who Arthur really believes he is. So what's wonderful about this is that the story is told through the perspective of Emmeline, the 6-year-old, and she has insight and understands why Arthur is behaving so oddly, but nobody believes her. And, you know, I just love the way the story is told, page after page, with a 6-year-old carrying the bulk of the story. Yeah, so the brilliance of the prose just carry you. I could feel the beauty of Alaska. I could envision and sense the bareness of the cabin that they lived in. I could feel the ambience in the small town bar. The author fully developed the characters and the community. It's eccentric, a bit bizarre, but, you know, and uncanny, but very poignant. The story comes full circle at the end. I love this story. I enjoyed it immensely. I highly recommend it. I give this a 5-star. My nonfiction book. Source code, My Beginnings by Bill Gates. It talked about his beginnings, you know, in youth, how he came to be. He seemed to be an awkward child socially. He was gifted with innate brilliance from the get-go. And what helped him was his family. His parents were very high achievers. His father was a lawyer. His mother was a prominent socialite. And they were very family oriented. And so anytime Bill Gates, fumbled, socially or what have you, his parents were always there and with guidance and with support, that sort of thing. So, most of the public did not have this kind of, exposure. He was exposed to vacations, camps, high academic schools, very white privilege, and he admits that, he knows that, he talks about that a bit. And the nice thing about his background, was so unlike most of ours, honestly, but we all benefited from his brilliance, from the computers, from, our culture changed, our world changed. And so, it was a good story. I don't think there's anything new here that most people did not know. I really can't think of anything that most people wouldn't know. It is a good book. It doesn't talk about his romances, his marriage, anything of his personal life or his children, things like that. But it's still a very good read. I give this a 3.5. I'll be back next week with 4 more books.